Collapse of KZN Department of Education. Vanakkam, Namaskaram, Namaste, Salam, Sabona, and a salutation. SATU, the KZN branch of the South African Democratic Teachers Union, has declared the Department of Education, KZN, as collapsed. SATU, through a media statement, says that it draws attention to the dire and dysfunctional state of education in the province. It goes on to say, Section 34(1) of Chapter 4 of the South African Schools Act states the state must fund public schools from public revenue on equitable basis to ensure the proper exercise of the rights of learners to education and the redress of the past inequalities in education provision. The state must fund. And most of you who have had or have children in school still know that educators, principals scramble to arrange fundraisers and events to keep our schools functioning. Yet the law states clearly that it is the responsibility of the state to fund education. SATU has leveled numerous damning allegations against the KZN Department of Education, some of which are failing to adhere to national norms and standards regarding funding. Example, for a quintile 1 to 3 school, the Department of Education was supposed to pay 1,602 Rand per learner, but only pays 955 Rand per learner. A shortfall of 647 Rands per month per learner, which must be made up by the educators, parents, etc. They allege that the department has failure to pay basic finance allocations to schools in the month of May. The department has failed to appoint substitute educators, thereby undermining existing education policies. The SATU says schools have no money to purchase teaching resources that are needed for teaching. Accuse the department of non-payment of service providers. The event, the National Teaching Awards ceremony, is now not in effect, and they say it's because of lack of funds. Silent retrenchment is another term they use, as there seems to be a hold on filling of vacancies for clerks, teacher assistants, etc. because of lack of funds. Now, lack of security in schools, placing both learners and teachers at risk, also because of lack of funds. Case in point regarding the security in school, this is the Centenary School issue, happened in February this year. Lack of security in the school allowed the situation to escalate out of control, where they had opened the school gates and let the children out. In the aftermath of this entire debacle here, the Department of Education, KZN, failed dismally to deal with the issue of racial tension in the school and basically hoodwinked the parents, made certain promises and didn't deliver. Here's another dismal failure of the Department of Education, KZN. Up here is Joshua Peterson in better days, 18-year-old learner at Westridge High School. He was left permanently paralyzed after being stabbed in the stomach and the head whilst on the school premises. To date, as the family grapples with this, with having the 18-year-old son paralyzed, the Department of Education, KZN, have not as yet contacted the family or offered any sort of assistance. And so SATU has embarked on some sort of strike action, which includes a work to rule campaign. That means sticking to the rules, working only there. Members will not attend workshops or meetings, meaning the educators, etc. Principals will not attend meetings or workshops arranged by the department. And members, meaning the educators, I think, will focus exclusively on 7 hours of classroom teaching and no extra classes will be considered. All this according to this media statement by SATU. But then when it comes to SATU, I also have to criticize you lot. And this rot, say you lot, this rot you speak about here in the statement was set in years ago. And to me, you, SATU, were complicit in this fiasco that robs our children of a quality education. You stood by and watched, according to me, as cadre deployment took place. Cadre deployment which saw incompetent, inexperienced people promoted to positions in the department and in schools. You watched as dedicated and vastly experienced, might I add, mostly Indian teachers that were not promoted into the positions they so deserved to be and would have made a great difference to our schooling and our children's education. You watched on and continue to watch on as Indian schools predominantly were wrongly classified in terms of the quintile classification and therefore could not access funds, and therefore our educators and our principals and our governing bodies and parents had to work extremely hard to host fundraising events just to keep our schools going. Maybe I'm talking shit, maybe not. I'll leave that to you to decide in the comments. And this feature brought to you by 1860 NIC Congress. We're hosting our first ever fundraiser in Phoenix's Flash Entertainers on Father's Day, Sunday, 15 June at the Sanford Primary School. Tickets are just 50 Rand per person, just 50 Rand per person. We'll see you there Sunday from 5 p.m. Dollar what you must.
Dollar what you must. Dollar what you crave. But don't dollar flop. Don't dollar with the masala.